Hello and welcome to the book thing. My name is Mark, and today I'm going to talk to you about Mythos by Stephen Fry. The eagle-eyed among you will have spotted that I am not currently in North Wales as per usual, but today I believe in doing things properly, and if you're going to read Stephen Fry's book on Greek myths, Mythos, then you should do it in Greece with a mythos. So, to get the tone for Mythos, you probably first have to get who Stephen Fry is, and I'm assuming most people know who Stephen Fry is, but on the off chance you don't, how would you describe Stephen Fry? Stephen Fry started off in the UK as like a comedian with his then partner in crime, Hugh Laurie, the guy who went on to become famous for playing House. And they had various different things that they did, sketch shows. They were both in the Blackadder TV series, so very much comedy, writers and actors. Stephen Fry's been a comedian, but I suppose what he really is more than anything else is this sort of polyglot. He's this real expert in kind of just about everything, but not in an obnoxious way, more in sort of he has this real thirst for knowledge and this real enthusiasm and joy about imparting that knowledge to other people, and when he does it, it's really, really infectious. If you've ever seen the show QI, which he presented for many years, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So he's a real old style polyglot in the real true sense of the word, where these sort of upper class Englishmen who became experts in everything just purely out of the joy of knowledge. And that's very much what we get with Mythos. This is his using his education, his classical education, to retell the story of the Greek myths in his own inimitable way, with using his very great witticisms and his turns of phrase and just the humor and humanity that he portrays in just about everything that he does, and that all comes through in the pages of Mythos.
That's what I meant.
My wife is just saying that people will think I'm a jet setter because I'm doing one on a Greek island, and the next one of these I'm going to do is from another Greek island. I'm not a jet setter. I barely leave the house. So Mythos is the first of his 4 books on the Greek myths. The second one is called Heroes, and it's about the Jason and Theseus and Perseus and all of those other heroes who you probably saw in 60s and 70s films with Ray Harryhausen stop motion effects and, with cyclopses and gorgons and all that sort of shit. His third one is Troy, which is about the Trojan War. And then the fourth one is Odyssey, which is a story of Odysseus on his way back from the Trojan War, and it's basically the retelling of Homer's Odyssey, which, to be honest, that probably would have been a more appropriate one to do on Kefalonia, because apparently Odysseus was from Ithaca by Kefalonia, so that would have been an ideal one for here. But I started with Mythos. Look, I wanted to read something Greek. It was that or Captain Corelli's Mandolin, and I had no interest in reading Captain Corelli's Mandolin. So it starts off with these creation stories, beginning with chaos, and then the personifications of lightness and dark, and then you got the personifications of Gaia of the earth and Uranus of the sky. You can have your chuckle. It's still funny, even in your 40s. And how Gaia and Uranus became the parents of the Titans, and the Titans became the parents of the gods, and then there's the demigods, and all the various different personifications of everything that came afterwards. And it's this whole thing about the gods being the personification of things, but also then being those things themselves. And it's all that sort of really confusing stuff that goes on around creation stories, which Stephen Fry does a really good job of unpicking and telling it in both in a human way, but also in a way that is easy to follow. Creation stories are actually kind of tricky. If you've ever tried to read any of the Norse or the Egyptian creation stories and early how the gods came into being, it's all people being their own fathers and, sons married to their mothers and all of that weird stuff. And then someone has like 3 sons, one of them he eats, and then it becomes the son, and all sorts of weird stuff like that. You can tell why the Judeo-Christian creation story was the one that caught on, because it was one guy, he did it in 7 days. He had a garden, he had 2 people in the garden, he had a snake, things went wrong, and then there was like a flood and an ark and whatever animals were left over after that, that's what you got. That's a way easier one to get your head round than a lot of the things in the Greek pantheon. But to be fair, Stephen Fry does a great job of explaining it in a way that is easy to digest, but not only easy to digest, but engaging and humorous and very, very human as well. And that's really the thing about a lot of the Greek stories, is the choice of ways to consume that as an adult have been pretty limited. You know, the Greek god stories have either been picture books for kids, or you have to get in and read Homer and Plato, and there's not an awful lot in between. Stephen Fry fills that gap, and he fills it so, so well. I would highly recommend reading Mythos if you have any interest in the Greek myths, and if you've just got an interest in fantasy in general. You know, all this stuff, it didn't start with Tolkien. It started with the old mythologies of the early civilizations. So if you want to get a good grounding where a lot of this fantasy stuff came from, a good starting point is Mythos by Stephen Fry. I'd highly recommend it. I gave it 4 stars, and I am definitely going to go and read the next 3 books in his series. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please consider hitting the like button. If you'd like me to see me doing more of these things and just setting off to other Greek islands, then please consider hitting the subscribe button. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and take care.